actually, where they were basically, we have black CEOs, a group of black CEOs of major corporations have made a public vow to create 1 million jobs for black people in the next 10 years. These black CEOs have come together and said, we want to help the black community. And in the spirit of Black Lives Matter and everything else that's going on in the world, we have vowed to create 1 million jobs in the next 10 years. I'm going to break that down a little bit and kind of let you guys know what I think on that and the subtleties and the nuances of this pledge, good and bad. I want to applaud them, but I also want to make sure we understand the entirety of how things kind of work and how things might be going on, at least in the world of Boyce Watkins. So we're going to get started. Buckle your seatbelt, hit the thumbs up button, and we'll get started on the Black Financial Channel right now. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, DK and 1992 Denise and Debt Free Dad and Blair Coldfield? I see you in here. Charles Ingram, what's going on? Jordan Williams, hello. Welcome to the Black Financial Channel, theblackfinancialchannel.com. Theblackfinancialchannel.com is where we talk about daily financial news and commentary from a black perspective. Now, here's the deal. I wanted to talk to you guys very quickly about this thing. I saw this thing where black CEOs, it's in Black Enterprise, a bunch of major guys who are running major companies have made major promises to create millions of jobs, or at least 1 million jobs for black people. First of all, I want to start off by applauding this, right? Paying attention to things like black employment, black wealth, potentially, things like that. That's a good thing, right? So everybody, let's clap. Also, as we move forward, don't forget this platform is Black First. We're B1. That means that we have to save ourselves before we can save anybody else. We must be one to be successful, and we are Black First. So we can't apologize for that. We have to look out for ourselves, and we don't look out for ourselves, and nobody else will. So if you agree with that philosophy, then put hashtag B1 in the chat. Hashtag B1 is the calling card to let me know that you're Black First. So I'm going to read some of this to you. And it's in Black Enterprise. Black Enterprise, a great publication, really good people. I met some folks at Black Enterprise. I like them very much. And here's what Black Enterprise had to say. They said a coalition of 37 CEOs across various businesses and industries are promising to create 1 million new jobs for Black Americans over the next 10 years. The collective organization 110, it's called 110, has announced that it will combine the power of these companies and hire and promote 1 million Black Americans over the next 10 years into family-sustaining jobs with opportunities for advancement. 110 was founded by Ken Chenault, chairman and managing director of General Catalyst and former chairman and CEO of American Express. Ken Frazier, chairman and CEO of Merck. Charles Phillips, managing partner of Recognize, chairman of the Black Economic Alliance and former CEO of Infor. Jeannie Rometty, executive chairman and former CEO of IBM. Kevin Scherer, former chairman and CEO of Amgen and former faculty member at Harvard Business School. Quote, "This is a moment for Americans to move past our divisions to come together and reach our full potential as a nation. Our country's workforce of the future will be an increasingly diverse one," said Frazier in a written statement. Through the creation of 1 million jobs for Black Americans over the next 10 years, 110 has the potential to address persistent intergenerational gaps in opportunity. And I can't even read the rest because it looks like Black Enterprise accidentally put an ad over part of the article. So love you, Black Enterprise. But y'all got to fix that, man. Come on. Can't read the whole article because there's an ad on top of the article. All right. Anyway, I've read enough to you. Did you get the gist of what was going on here? Give me a yes in the chat if you got the gist of what was going on. These black CEOs have gotten together and said, we need to create jobs for Black people and opportunities for Black people. I like that very much. I like the intention and the spirit behind it. I think it's a great thing for the most part. Now, here's where the Boyce Watkins in me is going to have to come out a little bit. As you know, one of the things that we focus extensively on in the Black Business School is Black wealth. Black wealth is the number one priority of the Black Business School. All we think about is Black people, Black wealth, Black economics, everything from income to wealth to the different ways to build wealth. That's all we focus on. Now, most of you didn't go to the Black Business School. You went to the White Business School, if you went to business school at all. Now, the White Business School doesn't focus on Black wealth. The White Business School, which might be Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Duke University, University of Texas, etc., they focus on white wealth. They focus on how do we build soldiers for our economic future? How do we make sure that our corporations and our community are doing extremely well? And a lot of Black people go to the White Business School and they become great soldiers for white economic prosperity. So unfortunately, inadvertently, and I say this as a man who's taught in white business schools for a big chunk of my life. I taught at University of Kentucky, Indiana University, Syracuse University, the Ohio State University, etc. At these white business schools, the problem is that you're not really sort of solving long-term economic problems when you go to the white business school. What you're doing is you might be solving some of your own economic problems, but you're not solving economic problems for the Black community. Let me tell you why. Here's why. I was visiting Indiana University. You know, the Black woman, the beautiful Black woman who's given me the honor of accepting my hand in marriage, Dr. Alicia, and I were doing a tour. We do a pilgrimage every year. We go back to Indiana University where I met her. I met her in the cafeteria. I swear, I'm not making this up. I saw her across a crowded room, and she was the prettiest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I went over to talk to her. And so we go back every year to say, I proposed marriage to her in the same place that I met her. And I walk across the room to meet her. And so every year we go back to Indiana for a pilgrimage to just, check out the old stomping ground, stuff like that. So I saw this sign that said, I went to the business school where I was a graduate student, and I taught some classes there. And I saw this sign that said something like, this building was dedicated by Caterpillar. And what I thought about was, I said, this is interesting. So Caterpillar gave, millions of dollars to build this building. Why would Caterpillar just give money away? Capitalists don't give money away. That's the opposite of capitalism. Capitalism means you keep your money, right? You get rich by keeping your money, not giving it away. So why would they give their money away? That doesn't make much sense. So I thought about it. I said, I know why Caterpillar gives millions of dollars away to build buildings on campuses that are not their own. It's because they're saying to the school, hey, we'll buy this building for you if you will send us economic soldiers that can build our company up for the next generation. When you hold recruiting sessions for your best students, your best and brightest of the next generation, we want to be at the front of the line so that we can get access to that human capital. The same way you go dig for diamonds in Africa, the same way you might drill for oil in Saudi Arabia, or the same way you might go and get, wood and timber out of Thailand or something. We're going to come to this school because you got the best and brightest in terms of how we do business in our community, and we want to pluck at that crop so that we can actually flip that, right? We can take the raw meat and flip it, cook it, and turn it into something that's sellable and generate a profit margin and build wealth for ourselves and for our corporation. Good plan. Excellent plan. Here's the problem, though. Black people aren't really usually a productive part of that plan. Now you're in the plan. Don't get me wrong. Like, you're part of the plan. You're a cog in the wheel, right? You are a resource that is necessary and utilized in that process. Where you come in is you go to the white business school. First thing you do is you go $250,000 in debt, right? Or $100,000 in debt, which half of all Black college graduates cannot repay their debt. I don't know if you guys know this or not. It's very important for you to understand. Half of all college graduates are in debt, probably to an institution that was not run by Black people. So that right there is a multi-trillion-dollar wealth transfer out of the Black community, just so we can start there. But then you get this piece of paper called a college degree, a license. And this is not against college, right? All of our kids are going to college, by the way. So if I say college is bad, then I'd be a hypocrite for saying that. But you get a piece of paper that then gives you the qualifications to go to Caterpillar or to a corporation and to get a job, right? So you go into that economic system. Now, the problem, though, obviously, is that the economic system was built on white supremacy. It was built. It wasn't built for your people. It was built for somebody else's people, right? Those resources, those profits, those trillions of dollars that are made every year in corporate profitability, that doesn't come back to the hood. If you want any evidence, anybody, give me a yes or no. Yes or no. When you go to the hood, do you see $100 million buildings built up? Do you see massive industry being developed? Do you see just are the streets paved with gold in the hood? Does the hood look as nice as I don't know, maybe someplace where white people live? I don't know, like downtown Denver or something, right? Or do you see just devastation? Do you see like burned down buildings, like crackhead on every corner, garbage on the street, no jobs, no nothing, no industry, no nothing, right? So that money's not coming to you, right? Those profits are going elsewhere, and that's fine. But here's the interesting thing. And this is not me at all. By the way, I want to make sure that I make it clear. I'm not being at all critical of the CEOs who are doing this. This is not a diss track. This is not me being critical. This is me being analytical. Analytical is different from critical. Hope we can understand this. So here's the deal. When they make a pledge and they say, we're going to hire 1 million Black people in the next 10 years, I need you to be clear and understand that while this certainly does have some benefit for you, it certainly has far more benefit for them, right? It has some benefit for you, but a lot more benefit for them. It doesn't mean they're screwing you. Doesn't mean that they're a bunch of old Uncle Toms. It doesn't mean that they're selling you out. Doesn't mean that they're trying to jack you for your paper. They're not. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Please don't take it. This is analytical, not critical. What it means is that what it's doing is this is an integration play. You see, we've been led to believe before. Most of us never read books like Powernomics, right? Or Black Labor, White Wealth. Books by Dr. Claude Anderson that break down precisely how your wealth got to where it is right now, right? Because Black folks have been getting jobs for corporations for a very long time. And there's very little evidence to say that our wealth levels have actually gone up because of that, right? White wealth has skyrocketed. Black wealth kind of remains flat, and it's actually going down. It's going to be zero by the year 2053, largely because most of your wealth gets trapped into big white universities that suck up all your paper so that you can actually get a piece of paper that lets you go work for a white business. Do you follow what I'm saying? Somebody says slow down. I hope I'm not talking too fast. I apologize. I get a little bit excited. Give me a yes or no if you're following my logic here. I just need a confirmation to know that I'm not, because sometimes I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes maybe some people have accused me of being ahead of my time. I consider that to be a compliment. But maybe it's because it's easy for me. I've been thinking about these things for 30 years. So it's a little simpler for me than it might be for other people. Okay. So, and I apologize if I'm talking too fast. I want to be cool when I say this because I don't want it to come off like I'm being mean. I'm not trying to be mean here. So here's the deal. So these guys have these CEOs who, probably like a lot of us who went to, big universities and make lots of money. We have survivor's guilt. I don't know if any of you feel this way. You have survivor's guilt. You're like, dang, man, I'm doing good. I'm in the executive suite. I'm making all this money and my people are struggling. So I think they did this because they want to help Black people. I think they did this because they want to see Black people do better. So what I'm saying is that there is a better way to see how to make sure Black people do better. And here's what I'm getting at. Here's what I'm getting at. A conversation on improving the Black community cannot just be a conversation about jobs, right? It cannot be just a conversation about jobs. In America, you live in a capitalist society. Capitalism isn't nearly as racist as it is capitalist. Capitalism doesn't dislike you because you're Black. Capitalism will screw over white people too. Capitalism believes that the powerful get all the wealth. Those who are not powerful, you can just jump off a bridge and die, right? So when you're integrating into a capitalist system where it's built on this survival of the fittest kind of mindset, and you're coming into it and you're Black, you have to understand that when you don't have ownership and control and power, you're going to get screwed. And let's just be clear, this ain't just because you're Black. Ken Chenault's been a Black man his whole life, from what I understand. He's the CEO of American Express. Capitalism doesn't screw him. Capitalism rewards him. If you're Will Smith, capitalism doesn't screw you. Capitalism takes good care of you. So let's get past this whole idea that somehow all these things happen because you're Black. No, all these things happen because of where you're positioned, where you're trained to position yourself in the economic process, in the economic system. Now, here's my philosophy. Before I move on to that, actually, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. Make sure you subscribe to the Black Financial Channel. And I want to remind you guys, we start the Black Wealth Bootcamp on the 7th of January. So if you want to go take a look, it's a 6-week program. It's very, very good. It's designed to reduce dependence on the corporate plantation. It's very popular. Everybody loves it. So feel free to go to blackwealthbootcamp.com. There's the URL right there on the screen. All right. So here's the deal. Here's my philosophy, right? My philosophy is a Black first philosophy, B1. B1 means that any economic strategy that we pursue as Black people should be something that puts the Black community's interests ahead of all other interests. The Chinese have a philosophy that you might call C1. They believe that any economic move makes sense as long as it makes sense for China. If it makes sense for Saudi Arabia, then that's not the optimal move. If it makes sense for England, that's not the optimal move. So if you go to China, let me give you an example. Think of the Black community like a nation. Think of Black people like China, okay? And imagine if you went to the president of China and you say, we really want to help China. We really care about the plight of China here in the United States. We know your per capita income isn't very high. And so what we've pledged to do, we have some Chinese CEOs over in the United States that are working for American companies, and they have pledged to create 1 million jobs for Chinese people in the next 10 years. So that means that your best and your brightest, you can put them on a boat, send them over to America, and we'll put them right to work. What do you say? Somebody in class, answer me real quick. How many of you think the Chinese would be happy with that deal? How many of you feel like the Chinese would say, yes, sign me up? This is the key to Chinese prosperity right here. Sending our smartest, best, and brightest, our potential CEO billionaires. We're gonna send all our future billionaires to America so they can all get a job making $100,000 a year. How many of you think that China would go for that deal? I'm putting on my other glasses because it's easier for me to. Actually, I have two pairs. I'm going back and forth, and I don't like either one. I gotta go to the eye doctor. I apologize. All right, so no. Hell to the no. The Chinese would say no. That's thank you, Mr. White Man. That's a wonderful offer you made here. We appreciate that, but we understand how the whole game is played. We know where every piece on the chessboard is located. You think that we're a pawn, and we're not trying to be a pawn. We're actually trying to be a player. See, we're not a pawn on the chessboard where you're moving us around and we don't know what's going on. We're actually moving the pawns ourselves. So you're talking player to player. You're not talking player to playee, right? You're not talking player to pawn. We're talking player to player. So in China, we understand the value of our human capital. Human capital is the economic potential or the economic worth of the people that exist in your community. The people have value. You were born, you don't know this, but everybody watching this right now, you were born a millionaire. Every single person in here was born a millionaire because, and I say this as an expert on finance, everybody was born a millionaire because throughout the course of your life, if you add up the economic value of all the labor that you do for other people, all the thousands of hours you spend at your job, all the things you're going to learn throughout your life, all the skills you'll pick up. Some of you are accountants, some of you are lawyers, maybe you're engineers, maybe you pick up the trash, maybe you sweep the floor at the local high school. Doesn't matter. No matter who you are, where you at, no matter what your education level, you were a millionaire when you were born because God gave you this blessing called human capital. That's why they hire you. That's why they want to bring you in to their economic army and make you a soldier on their chessboard. They want you to play a part in sustaining their economic power. So what I would say is this: look, there's nothing wrong with what these guys are trying to do. It makes absolutely sense, absolutely perfect sense. Corporations are better off when they understand the value of diversity. There is no question about that. Every study shows that when companies diversify their workforce, they are always better off because your customer base is diverse. So your workforce should be diverse because the more you can connect with the customer base, the more likely you are to sell a product. So every business school model I can think of says that a diverse workforce is very good for you, which is why it makes perfect sense for them to go recruit Black people. But the question becomes this, is there a point where we get past this idea of bragging about how much of an asset we are to other people and instead start bragging about what an asset we are to ourselves? Because I think that it's important to understand that there's a difference between being an asset to them and being an asset to you. And we've been trained really since slavery to brag about how we're an asset to other people. Just look at the last election. There are millions of people who have bragged about the fact that Black women saved the Democratic Party. And I think that's okay. I think that's fine. But my question is, did the Democratic Party come to save you? When you say they saved us because we saved them, then that makes sense. That's how you compete in global economic warfare, because you're engaging in reciprocity. You're engaging in adequate fair trade. But if you say, look at me, I'm so proud I did this thing for you. I'm so proud that I gave you all my money. And you can't in return say, well, I'm proud because I gave you money too. Then that means that we have a little bit of an imbalanced relationship. Somebody's getting used, right? So rather than us bragging about, like, think about this. You see it in the language, right? We'll brag about how important diversity is for corporate America, right? Well, which is why they should hire us. We brag about the power of the Black dollar, right? How much economic power our dollars have when we give them away. Maybe we brag about how the power of the Black vote. The Black vote got so and so into office, right? Even though that person didn't do anything for Black people. I think it's okay for you to also care about yourself, right? To see Blackness and Black people in the Black community as an entity within itself. going outside of the corporation, going, almost the way China sees itself as a country. They don't see themselves as people who are hoping that their kids can go work for Americans. That used to be true. Back when China was failing as an economic state, back when China was basically in the same place Black people are today, when China was in the place where they were the economic laughing stock of the world, back when China had no jobs in their own communities, they had to send their best and brightest overseas to America. That's exactly what they did. They would have a kid that would rise up through the ashes, and he would be brilliant at science or brilliant at math. He'd have the potential of an Elon Musk, and they would send him to America to be educated. And then in America that's where he would stay, and he would go and work for a company in America, and China received no benefit from any of that. Well, what happened with Chinese leadership is they did exactly what I'm saying to you right now. They had a Dr. Claude Anderson Powernomics ideology in which they said, wait a minute, instead of us bragging about how much we're doing for other people, we don't care about that anymore. We don't care if you are brilliant and you go to America and you make billions of dollars for the Americans. All we care about is that you bring it back home. So they literally have measuring sticks for what it means to be a good Chinese citizen. One of the things that they look at is, did you bring it home to China? It doesn't matter how great you were overseas. Did you bring it back home? Yeah. I know you're brilliant over there and you did this wonderful thing over there, but did you bring it back home? Okay, I hear you. Yeah, you won the Nobel Prize. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, but did you bring it back home? Right? So what I'm saying to you Black people is that you have to ask your leading Black people, your most successful Black people, did you bring it back home? When you think about what you do with your time, did you bring it back home? When you think about what you did with your money, did you bring it back home? When you think about your biggest investments, did you bring it back home? Because if you didn't bring it back home, then it's easy for somebody to say that it doesn't amount to much of anything. Okay, so anyway, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, also hit the notification bell. Make sure you subscribe to the Black Financial Channel. It's very, very important. And also, I want to remind you guys that next week we're doing the Black Real Estate Weekend, the weekend of the 19th. We are bringing in real estate experts from everything from buying your first home to buying multifamily property to buying commercial real estate to tax lien selling, all these things. They pretty much have experience, hundreds of years of experience between all of them in all facets of real estate. And we're going to do that for the whole weekend, Saturday and Sunday on the weekend of the 19th. So you can go to blackrealestateweekend.com if you want to join us. That's blackrealestateweekend.com. The URL is right there on the screen. All right. So one thing I'll say is this. Look, when you say that you want to hire 1 million Black people, I don't think that's a bad thing. I remember when I was in college and I actually was the #1 finance student on the entire campus and the #1 Black student. Like I did everything that I thought I needed to do in order to be successful. I did all those things. And I applied to 250 different Wall Street firms. I got 250 different rejection letters. And back at that time, you couldn't just apply on the internet. I had to literally write a letter and send it to 250 different firms. I mean, it was that crazy. And I couldn't believe I got that many rejection letters. I thought somebody would at least give me a shot. Nobody gave me a shot. But you know what? When I look back at that, that was absolutely the best thing in the world that could have ever happened to me. Because if somebody had given me a shot and I had gone to work for one of these companies and I had done my job and done as well as I know that I could do, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Instead of talking to 1 million Black people a week on the internet, like I said, literally, I have about 800,000 subscribers across multiple YouTube channels that listen to me on economic issues, myself and Dr. Claude Anderson, and I talk to you guys every single day. If I'd gotten my wish and they had given me that job, I wouldn't be talking to you right now because I probably wouldn't have the time to do that. I wouldn't have the interest in doing that. I would never even know the potential in doing that. I came to do this, to do what I do now, largely because the opportunities that I originally sought were not made available to me. And here's the thing. That was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Sometimes God takes away the thing that you want to give you the thing that you need. Sometimes God takes you from the place that you think you're supposed to be and puts you in the place where he knows you're supposed to be. See, God is the ultimate chess master, right? He sees the whole chessboard. Sometimes we don't know. We're on the board. We see the world in a 2-3-dimensional context. God lives in the 6th dimension. He lives in precisely the 6th, not the 7th, not the 5th. He lives in the 6th dimension. I've explained this in another conversation. I'm not going to get too metaphysical with you all, but this is mathematical, actually. Mathematics and metaphysics actually connect if you reach at the highest levels. So God in his 6th-dimensional mind said, Boyce, no. I know you want these things. I know you're praying to me that you're going to get this job and you're hoping that they're going to come through for you on this, and this. All that's going to be wiped off the table because I need you to focus because you have a bigger purpose. So as a result of pursuing a bigger purpose, I've had a much greater impact on the world than I ever could have had if I was sitting there in some academic office writing research papers that nobody's ever going to read. I have been all around the world to tons of countries and cities and places all over the globe, speaking to my people about economic empowerment. The money has been very nice in everything that I've done. I'm not going to talk about that because I don't believe in bragging about money, but I'm not broke, and I wouldn't. There's no job you can offer me now, including president of Harvard University, where they could even come close to paying me what I'm actually able to make as an entrepreneur. There is also the fulfillment and satisfaction of knowing that I have been able to do things that have transformed my community for the next several generations on a massive scale. You see, the thing that you have to understand, here's what I'm getting at here, and I get long-winded, but it's for a good reason. The thing you have to understand is that when you're in an epic battle as a community to really develop your community at a very high level, that level of development, it doesn't come through symbolism. You know, they give you a lot of symbolism because symbolism doesn't mean anything. It means a little, but it doesn't mean much. It doesn't come through one-offs. You know, like one black man getting a job has never saved a community. Like, you know, or even 1 million jobs, 1 million employees is not the same as 1 million business owners. 1 million employees is not the same as 1 million business owners. 1 million employees is not the same as 1 million investors. 1 million employees is not the same as 1 million people that own real estate. So if you're looking for something that's going to be truly transformative for the community, then you must look beyond this idea that says, we're going to help the Black community by bringing 1 million of your best and brightest. Remember, integration does a Jackie Robinson on the Black community. They don't go after everybody. They're not going after the average mediocre kid. They're going after the kid that's at the top of the class. They're going after the kid who in another reality would have become a billionaire. He would have built $1 billion company and employed tens of thousands of people. So that kid does not need a job. That kid needs capital. He needs capital. A kid who has the potential to be a Jeff Bezos doesn't need a job. There is no job that will pay Jeff Bezos what he needs to be worth $275 billion. That kid does not need a job. He needs capital so that he can hook everybody else up. Capital allows him to take his talent and his brilliance and to scale it so that it impacts the lives of millions of people. Do you follow what I'm saying? Give me a yes or no if you get what I'm saying. Right? So when they say we're going to create 1 million jobs, they're helping themselves as more than they're helping you, because they're not saying we're going to go scrape the bottom of the barrel. We want your average kids. We want your dumb kids that can barely get a job anywhere. We want the mediocre kids. No, they're not going to the hood and getting the mediocre children. They are going for your gold mines. They are going after, they're doing like they did in Africa. They didn't want everybody in Africa and all the stuff in Africa. They want the best and brightest. They want the gold and the silver and the oil and all. They want the valuable stuff. So you think they're doing you a favor. You say, oh my God, they took our most brilliant kids and let them all go work for American Express. Well, then that's a big win for American Express, and it's not a win for you, because all your job creators have left, and now your hood is an economic desert. It becomes an economic desert because now all these Black college graduates who don't have the potential to build their own industry, right? Everybody's not a captain of industry. Everybody's not meant to be a CEO, right? But you got millions of Black college graduates, pay attention now, they go to a white university, go $100,000 in debt, they get a piece of paper that says, you're now qualified, certified by us to go work for somebody else, right? And so they come back to the hood, and there's no jobs for them in the hood. There's nowhere they can work. So the only thing that they can do at that point is go across town and hope that they can be that 1 out of 20 Negroes that gets hired by that corporation. You see, white corporations don't have enough jobs for all Black people. That's why right after slavery, the overwhelming majority of Americans, including white people in the North, the overwhelming majority of Americans did not want the slaves to be free. The reason they did not want the slaves to be free is they said, we don't have enough jobs for these people. What are we going to do with these people? Every white man can't go build his own business. There's millions of mediocre white men who need to go work for the extraordinary white men. The mediocre white men, they can't build their own companies necessarily. So they're like, okay, I want to join with all my buddies, and we're going to all go down and work at the slaughterhouses, or we're going to all go work at the factory, or we're all going to work over at Chipotle or whatever. And because the smart guy created this business and he can hire us all, right? So the question is, where does the average black person go? That mediocre kid who doesn't have the ability to start his own business and make millions of dollars, where does he go when your leaders, your economic leaders, your intelligentsia, if you want to call it that? I hate that word, but because it sounds elitist. But when your best and brightest, your economic superstars have been folded into literally a shadow of themselves. Like what? How would the black community look? Let's just use me as an example. I'm hesitant to do this, but I'm going to do it because I can't think of a better example at this point. What kind of world we live in if you took me and say Dr. Claude Anderson and folded us down and made us into little employees and gave us a nice cushy job somewhere and bribed us with just enough money that we would forget about the black community? Think about how many millions of people will be impacted, because I see the numbers and I know for a fact that we're consistently communicating with 1 million black people every single week. So what I'm saying to you is that you got to see the big picture. That's my point. You got to see the big picture. Black economic development is not going to be created by 1 million more employees. Black economic development will be created by 1 million entrepreneurs. Black economic development does not come from offering jobs. If they really want to help black economic development, they will give access to capital to those black men and women whose dream is too big, too grand, too great, their talent is too extraordinary to sit in as somebody's employee with a white supremacist corporation with a glass ceiling where they're only going to get so far anyway, because maybe they don't fit in with the white boys, maybe they fit in better with the brothers in the hood. And ain't nothing wrong with a black man who fits in well with the brothers in the hood, because the brothers in the hood need love too, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? But instead, you get black folks who rise through these systems and they feel somehow that that black folks are less than. That if I come in and I do things black people do, speak the way black people speak, believe the things black people believe, that somehow those beliefs, those values are less than the values of the people who are paying me 100, 200, 400, 500,000, $1 million a year to do this job. No, there is no less than. It's just different. It's just different. In their space, you're less than because that's not your space. But in our space, you're greater than because this is your space. If I'm Chinese and I'm working with a bunch of Russians, then being Chinese is less than because I'm in a Russian space. But if that Russian goes to China, then the Russian becomes less than because that is an environment built for Chinese. So I ask you as African-American people, foundational Black Americans specifically, those who great-great-grandfathers and great-great-great-grandmothers worked on the plantations, what space is built for you? What economic space is built for you? When you are a young black college graduate and you come out with flying colors, straight A's on your report card, and you come out with a degree, what space can you go to where they're going to look at you exactly the way you are, with your natural hair, with your swag, with your love for rap music, or whatever it is that you bring, whatever type of blackness you bring to the table, and they said, this is your space. You don't have to be a chameleon. You don't have to do what they call it, the double speak or the double consciousness or whatever. That you're not going to have daily microaggressions from white people who don't understand who you are. What space is built for you? And I'm just here to tell you that those spaces are not for you. They're not for you. And you shouldn't have to make a decision to go into dire poverty just because you can't stand to be in those spaces. But in order for that to not happen for the next generation, we must build better spaces for them. And you build better spaces, not with employees. You build better spaces with entrepreneurs and wealth builders. You build better spaces with investment. You build better spaces by having a grander vision that's built on the development of systems and delegation and institutions. Institutions. That's what you lost during integration. You lost your institutions, right? Your institutions are the places, that's where you go to work. That's where you go to school. Right? You don't have institutions because they convinced you to let go of all that so you could go and be a part of their institutions where you really weren't welcome. It's bad enough it's bad enough. If I'm a grown ass man, let me just say I'm a grown ass man. I'm gonna just say that and make that clear. As a grown man, imagine a lot of y'all, everybody in here who's a grown ass man or grown ass woman, raise your hand. If you've grown, raise your hand. As a grown man, if I had to leave my house and go live with my best friend, it would be terrible. It would be absolute. Like I couldn't even do it. I'd rather be homeless than to have to show up to my friend's house and be like, "Hey, man, look, me and my family having a hard time. Can I come stay with you for a while?" And he's like, well, all right, man. Well, we ain't got no extra space, but okay, well, sure, man. Yeah, you can stay in the basement, right? Okay. Well, how long you gonna be here? About a week or two, 2 weeks. Nah, man, I ain't got nowhere to live. I'm gonna just be here indefinitely. Can I just live here, right? Think about how awkward that would be, right? I mean, how pathetic would I look if I had to do that, right? But that's what integration did. Integration was where you killed all you let go of your house and you went to go live with somebody else. Now, here's the thing. In the example I just gave you, I talked about going to live with my best friend. Now I want you to go further. I want you to imagine this. Imagine if instead of going to live with my best friend, I had to go live with my worst enemy. Like imagine calling up your worst enemy. Think about in your mind, think about somebody that really hates your guts, somebody that just thinks you ain't nothing, that's mad at you, been mad at you for 5-10 years, talks bad about you, hates you, hates your kids, hates your spouse, hates everything that you have anything to do with, and has sabotaged you your whole life, right? And imagine having to go to that person and ask that person for a place to live. Imagine that. I want you to imagine that. I'm making a point here. That is what Black people had to do when we went to go sit up under white people. These are the very same people, not all of them, but the very same people who are the descendants of the people who used to lynch and rape your grandparents, who forced them into bondage for their whole entire life, who would spit on the Black kids when they rolled by on the school bus, who burned down entire Black communities like Black Wall Street, who would shoot a Black person on sight and not go to jail for it, right? Who did unspeakable things, who would, put Black babies down in Florida, put the Black babies in the alligator cages and use the Black babies for alligator bait, right? And you want to go live with those people. That you want to go and make yourself economically dependent on the people who come from that tradition. I'm not saying all white people are bad. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that these are facts. These are facts. And what I'm saying to you is that anybody who's got a lick of common sense is not going to want to put themselves in that position, in that situation. Even if the situation looks good, even if your enemy says, I'm really sorry, I'm going to pay you well, but I need you to quit your job and come work for me. Even then you'd probably say, nah, I'm good. Thank you very much. I'm okay. Right. So when I see initiatives like this, where the Black CEOs who probably don't know any better, I mean, they seem like good people, right? I'm not saying that they're doing this for bad reasons. And some people may need those jobs. They can have how about this? You can have all the mediocre Black people, like all the Black people, not even mediocre, even some of the good ones, right? Any Black person who doesn't want to be liberated from the corporate plantation should go work for you. Any Black person who just doesn't feel inspired to own assets or to build wealth in a significant way or to start a business or hire other Black people, maybe you can have those people. That's fine. Whatever, right? But I think that when you're talking about these talented 10th, these really smart Black folks that come out of your community, a lot of y'all got these seeds in your own family. Some of your babies are brilliant. Some of your babies have the potential to be billionaires. And what you have is a very serious job of cultivating that genius and making sure that it reaches its fullest potential. Some of you, unfortunately, some of us, because of our limited thinking, we stunt the growth of our babies. Your baby is thinking he wants to become the next Jeff Bezos and build $1 billion company. And you tell your baby, no, that's too big of a dream. You need to go get you a job. Right. So I really would encourage you to do this. Just don't sell your babies off cheap. Don't sell your babies just because white people are willing to pay a higher price for them or they're willing to accept more of them under their umbrella. How about you cultivate and create things in your own community that will give your babies a place to go where they don't have to feel awkward in order to survive? Do you know that some of the most incarcerated Black people I know are the most educated people I know? Many of the most educated people I know are the most incarcerated economically and otherwise. They're the ones who are most likely to be angry because they got the job thinking they would get promoted to CEO and they never got past level 2. Or they're pissed off because every day they go to work and there's the white lady down the hall who always treats them with significant disrespect. They get together with their friends and they have terminology for it. They microaggression. They can sit around and talk about the microaggressions they endure every day. And these microaggressions have significant physical and mental health effects. They go crazy. They become alcoholics. They need a therapist. Some of them commit suicide, right? And so don't think that being more educated. I used to believe this. I used to believe that being Black and educated was going to free me from white supremacy. And then I realized that it only more deeply embedded my commitment and connection to that system. The thing that freed me was learning how to own assets, own and control assets. And then when I realized that that's what liberated me, that's all I began to focus on. That's all I began to think about, right? So here's the deal. If you're talking about things that are going to build the Black community, here's what is going to make the Black community strong. Number one, buying Black. So even if you work for white people, you buy Black. You transfer that wealth or whatever that income is that you get. If you buy something, you try your best to buy Black so you can build Black businesses so these Black business owners can create more jobs because they have more customers. Number two, you invest in everything. You invest in things that are Black. You can also invest in things that are not Black. It's okay. They owned you for 250 years. You can own them too, right? So these corporations, when I look at Amex, I don't hate Amex. I just look at Amex and say, I'd like to be a stockholder in that company. Or when Disney comes out with a Black Panther movie and they make all this money from Black people, I might go see the movie. I might not go see the movie, but you best bet your butt that I've been a Disney shareholder for many, many years now. And when they made all this announcement of this whole new lineup, I was really excited because I got paid that day. My stock went up that day. Shout out to all the Disney shareholders because I told you guys about Disney well over a month ago. I told you they were making major moves, and I believe they have more in store. I believe that next year they're going to come out with more stuff. I believe the stock will continue to go up. So the other piece, ownership of real estate, right? Land is very valuable, very important. Land ownership should be a core value in your family. And then next, every Black child before the age of 12 should know how to start a business as a rite of passage, so that if they do keep a job, it's because they've explored all the options and possibilities and decided that the job is their best option. You don't want your child to have a job just because they ain't got nowhere else to go. They don't have anything else. It's like dating somebody. You should be dating somebody because you have many options and that person was the best choice. You should never date a person because you're afraid that if they don't want you, nobody else will. Right? Seriously, what kind of bottom of the barrel nonsense is that? No, you're special. You're unique. You have options. You must explore them so that you're never in a situation because you have to be there. You're only in situations that you want to be there. That's what freedom is. We talk about freedom all the time, but don't nobody even know what freedom is. Freedom just means doing whatever you want to do. Freedom means options. That's it. That's it. Freedom means options, period. And so anyway, so give yourself options and you'll always have freedom. Having to go work for a company where they're treating you like crap every day, that's not the same as having options. That's not the same as being free. And believe me, the mental and the physical health effects will show exactly what slavery is, because slavery kills. Slavery kills. People who feel stuck, trapped, it kills them. They did studies on rats, and they had rats in a cage, and they basically did a test that had some rats that were free. I'm not going to explain the details of the test, but some of the rats were given freedom. Some of the rats were put were kind of incarcerated. The rats that were incarcerated had significant mental and physical health effects that came from their incarceration. So the question you must ask yourself as Black people is, do I feel free? And if you don't feel free, you must say why. And then you say, well, what is the solution? I guarantee you that a big chunk of that's going to relate to money and economic freedom. If I put $1 million in your bank account right now, would you feel freer than you are right now? If the answer is yes, then that means that if you want your children to be free, then teach your child how to go make some money. Teach your child how to make investments. Teach your child how to build assets. Teach your child how to keep the money that they receive. You do that, 80-90% of the oppression that they feel every day will disappear. All right. I hope that this helps you. I hope this makes sense. And actually, speaking of options and stock options, you guys know I talk about that a lot. We're doing a Black movie night. We're supporting the creation of a Black film industry. We have Boyce Watkins Films. We've released a lot of films, but we also collaborate and support other filmmakers. One guy we're supporting is a guy named Mark Harris, who made a movie called Stock Option. Mark's films, you've seen them on BET, you've seen them on TV One. Mark is a great guy. He could have went to Hollywood. He deliberately chose not to go because he wanted to build a film industry in the Black community. He's right in the hood in Inglewood, in a part of Chicago. And and Mark has agreed to allow us to show for students in the Black Business School the film Stock Option. So if you want to come to the event, it's going to be next Thursday, the 17th. You can go to blackmovienight.net. That's blackmovienight.net, not .com, .net. And you can actually get a pass to come to that film. And then also, The other film that I was an executive producer on is called Happy, Hapi. Happy was made by Tariq Grant. He's worked on this film for 5 years, and it basically explores how modern economic systems that are used by everybody, many of those systems have their roots in ancient Africa, in West Africa, in Egypt, etc. Like, you are the originator of everything. You are the creators of all this. So when Black people become great, it won't be Black people becoming great. It'll be Black people becoming great again. Right? You're just, by doing all these things you're doing now, all you're doing is going back to your roots and becoming who you were meant to be. You're meant to be the leader. You're meant to be the captain. You're meant to be the king. You're meant to be the queen. So let's do some queening. Let's do some kinging, and let's go out here and take what belongs to us. So blackmovienight.net is the URL you can go to if you want to join us for either film. And also don't forget, the Black Real Estate Weekend is a couple days after that. That's blackrealestateweekend.com. So that's some resources. We're not just talking about things. We're building things. We're creating things. We're doing things. So I hope you guys will be a part of this, and I hope that this conversation helped you. And like, once again, no disrespect to any of the CEOs that are doing this million jobs thing. Maybe they can supplement this. And I'm happy. If any of them sees this video, I'd be happy for them to call me, and I could tell you a couple things I think you could tweak and throw in there that might actually have moved the needle a little bit on Black wealth. All you need is something that relates to ownership of stock, and something that related to access to capital. Black people need access to capital so we can make investments and actually build our own institutions, because most Black people I know will be much happier running a small business that makes $500,000 a year than working for a big corporation that makes $500 billion a year. Most people will be happier and more impactful to the community, by the way, if they have a small business that makes a small amount of revenue, let's say $500,000 a year, $250,000 a year. They can have more impact with that than they could working a really fancy job where they're detached from their community. So that's what we need. We need those small business owners so we can help them succeed and do well. All right. So I'm out of here, guys. Thank you for listening. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button, notification bell, all that stuff. Tonight, by the way, at 8 p.m., we're doing another panel. We do our all Black intellectual chocolate panels on things going on in the community. And we're actually going to talk on drboystv.com about that little kid who got smacked by the football coach. So our panelists actually have some things to say, and that's going to be a really fun conversation. So please have a great day. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you guys soon. Be good. Peace.